Hello, everybody. Welcome to the reading room, and it's my great pleasure to be your host for tonight on Fundamentalist Fails. Yes, it's Friday again, and time for another Fundamentalist. I want to wish everybody a fine welcome. I hope everybody is doing well. I feel particularly great today. I had a great time researching this story. I mean, like great as in it's horrifying, but at the same time, wow, it takes you aback. And I've got to say to everybody, like, first off, if you are sort of triggered by animal cruelty or anything like it, I it this may not be the thing that you want to see. And I totally understand that. It's really hard. It's honestly awful. So this is concerning a very right-wing fundamentalist politician by the name of Kirsty Gnome. It's not spelt like, small people that Bubblegum Gun thinks exists, but it's a right-wing politician under the name of Gnome, Noem. Hello everybody. Hello Robin. Hello Per Astra ad Asta. Astra. Um, well, it isn't completely wrong. So here's the thing. So first off, I want to say, that it's not completely about that. I wanted to go off on what is probably a big tangent, but basically what got me thinking about the topic was that story, and I was going to run through it briefly, kind of thing, because it really is horrible. It's basically this politician by the name of Kirsty Gnome, who, looking into her, like um, she basically shot her dog, and it was a 14-month-old wire terrier, which is just awful. Like, that's just horrible for, sort of running around and biting. And apparently she said it ruined her pheasant hunt. So I'm gonna find the like, so she came out with a memo. No one forced her to do this. Um so she basically um and it's really sad because the name of the dog was Cricket. So poor little Cricket is basically running around and being an idiot, like 14-month-old puppies generally do. Like, there's nothing unusual about that. And yeah, so apparently she felt like she needed to take them out. So this sort of um this hound homicidal maniac, this puppy puncher, is like one of the worst. And looking more into her, she is absolutely awful. Hold it, I just wanna share this. Da-da-da-da. So this is just from the Guardian. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, but there's more interesting stuff as we go along. So don't think this is entirely what it's about, because it's not. So she basically, Cricket. Is a wirehair pointed about 14 months old. She put in her book. She put in her own book. Said that the dog had an aggressive personality and need to be trained used for hunting pheasant. And, like, keep in mind that's what she wrote. It needed to be trained for hunting pheasant. So she chose to kill the animal in hunting season. So this is in No Going Back: Truth of What's Wrong with Politics and How We Move America Forward. Apparently, Cricket doesn't get a say in how we move forward because she took Cricket out like an absolute murderous. This mutt murderer just took it out. She includes a story about the ill-fated Cricket to indicate an willingness in politics as well as South Dakota life to do anything difficult, messy, and ugly if it simply needs to be done. There's something very Machiavellian and callous about this, though. Sort of very, very well, because so this isn't what I would say as sort of difficult, messy. This is the easy way to take care of that problem, right? It's the easy way out. It is harder to train a dog and put all the effort in and do all the hard work, rather than just to off the dog like a freaking psycho. Um, that's not the difficult way to do it. By taking Cricket on a pheasant with the older dog, she hoped to calm the young dog down and teach her how to behave. Um, that's not really training a dog. Like, you can't just take a dog with you, let it see what other dogs are doing, and expect it to understand that's what's required of it. You need to sort of take reward actions and sort of um, discipline actions on what it's doing. I remember having I house sat for somebody and they left their dog with me. I was taking care of the dog, and it was horribly untrained. Like, it would just jump up on people all the time and things like that. You've got to be strict with the dog, and you know scold it when it does something wrong, and be consistent all the way through, and give it treats when it does the right thing. A reward and punishment kind of system. So withhold it, its treats when it does something bad, and have that tone in your voice that it knows that, hey, the consequences for sort of doing those actions are that it doesn't get its treats, it doesn't get what it usually gets. It may not, you might sort of take away its toy. There's certain things you can do to train a dog. Um, you can't just expect it to understand. Gnome describes calling Cricket, then using an electronic collar. I mean, he says electronic. I presume it's an electric collar, right? So you're giving it shocks, which is horrible. Absolutely horrible. Nothing worked. Nothing. That's not yeah. Cricket escaped Gnome's trap and attacked the family's chicken, crunching it to death. Cricket, the untrainable dog, behaved like a trained. I mean, come on. The 14-month-old puppy is a trained assassin. Come on now. When Gnome finally grabbed Cricket, she said the dog whipped around to bite me. Then, as the chicken's owners wept for the price they asked and helped them dispose of the carcass, littering the scene of the crime. I feel like Cricket is being framed here. You know what I mean? Like, Cricket was innocent. Cricket was the picture of pure joy. I hated that dog. Cricket had proved herself untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact, and less than worthless as a hunting dog. I realized I had to put her down. Look, so there's a certain saying which I do believe: there's no such thing as a bad dog, only bad owners. Right? So why would you not take it to an actual dog trainer? Like, I don't think that dog trainers will say, "Hey, this dog is untrainable." They make their living by training dogs. This is horrible. It was not a pleasant job, but it had to be done. After it was over, I realized another unpleasant job had to be done. Yeah, so she basically shot her dog and then left it in a gravel pit. The family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not been castrated. Furthermore, the goat spelled disgusting, musky, rancid, and loved to chase Gnome's children, knocking them down and ruining their clothes. Like, so basically, just what a goat does. Like, I mean, that's just, you're describing a goat. Gnome decides to kill the unnamed goat. In the way she had just killed Cricket the dog, but though she dragged him to the gravel pit, the goat jumped as she shot. Yeah, why wouldn't it just stand there and yeah. Hurried back to the gravel pit and crimped down. Okay. So, just to address the chat for a second, now I realize that putting animals down happens on farms and stuff. I realize that, and it's sort of a part of life. I think that with dogs in particular, it would probably be better because even though it wasn't a hunting dog, you could still sort of put that dog up for adoption. You could give it into a service to take animals like that. I just feel there were other ways that you could handle it than your first thing to going. And it's more the hatred of the dog rather than doing something necessary kind of thing. Um the whole idea would be, well, it was unavoidable for a start, which of course it isn't. There's shelters, there's adoption, there's other things who would take the dog and be thankful to have a 14-month-old wire terrier, I think was purebred. Um, and when something is regrettably necessary, you don't sort of boast about it in a book. You don't sort of go, oh well, I'm willing to do anything. Look how I shot my dog in the face. It's sort of, it almost smacks of that sort of mentality where in the spy movie they get you to shoot your dog at the end kind of thing. Like, who would that appeal to? But the goat survived the wound, and this is horrible. So she went back to her truck, got another shell, and hurried back. So Kendi looked around confused. He writes of her daughter, who asked, "Hey, where's Cricket?" That's horrifying. So she's basically her daughter. She didn't even tell her daughter, "Hey, I had to take act." Like, why would you not tell your daughter that you've had to put your cricket down? Maybe she couldn't say that, or what I want to know is what she told her daughter. Ryan, oh, cricket is with Jesus now. What do you say about that? Hey, I had to shotgun blast Cricket in the face because he wouldn't stop killing chickens. Yeah, and she's copped a lot of flack, but this isn't the only weird thing about this woman. Like, as I looked further into this, she is a very weird duck. Okay, like, I mean, weird as hell. The one of the weirdest things about this, and I do want to sort of show this. Where is it? I had a second ago. Um, Maybe it's down the bottom. Yeah, she calls the dog shooting report. Whoops. She calls the dog shooting report fake news. Fake news? She posted it in her book. Like, this is the craziness that we've gotten up to with Trump's sort of fake news thing. She publishes a story in a book, and when people accurately recount it from her book that she wrote, she said it's fake news. I mean, what are we talking about here? They leave out some or most of the important facts of the story. No, they're not. It's just like the Whitehair Pointer was extremely dangerous. I don't think they were. Like, really, when showed less than worthless as a hunting dog, suggests that that dog wouldn't make a hunting dog, so she put it down for that reason. But this gets, like, she gets weirder, and looking through her stuff, some is horrifying, some is absolutely hilarious, and I'm going to go through the horrifying first, and go to the hilarious. So, um, things like this, and basically it is, this is the same woman, Kirsty Gnomes. She used coronavirus relief to fund a $5 million tourism ad, right? So this tourism ad.
South Dakota, the land of the free. With our breathtaking landscapes and wide open spaces, we're a place to safely explore. And with our low taxes, we're a place to grow. We're open for opportunity, and always will be. I'm Governor Kristi Noem. Celebrate what makes America great, and experience the great faces and great places of South Dakota.
I hope the sound was coming through. Basically, like, so she did an ad suggesting that everything was safe. And this was 2020 during the height of the the epidemic, right? This was 2020. She used money, she used money that was flagged for coronavirus help to address the crisis. And use that to fund tourism, making the problem worse. It's madness. It's absolute madness. And the fact that it said, oh, it's safe when there's a like, what are you doing? What are you doing? More to our thing, she sponsored a prayer bill to get prayer back into schools, right? So this is what she did. She funded a prayer bill to, like, not to stop prayer in schools, but get prayer back into schools. She signed an executive order banning CRT in K-12, so up to, sort of year 12. Which I mean, I don't think that it has to be, a mandatory curriculum of year 12. So 17 to 18-year-old. But I think banning it is a bit extreme. And anything that went against that mandate, she kind of banned that literature and banned that from the school kind of thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. Another thing that she tried to do was getting fireworks at Mount Rushmore. And she basically tried to, when the environmental people sort of said, hey, it's a fire risk, and it's sort of, inappropriate for the pandemic, she did a lawsuit to fight that. And lost, of course, because it is a fire hazard. And it, like, you're talking about a national park. I don't know, because the Western Australian, and I'm from Western Australia, our relationship with fire is very, very, very we don't have a good relationship with fire. Fire bad. Fire very bad. So we have fire ban days where you can't burn stuff. We have, you can't do certain things because the risk of bushfire that will burn down literally the entire place is absolutely shocking. You can't just have fireworks out over a national park. It is stupid. It's just stupid. But this woman gets better, and she gets absolutely better. Here is one where her daughter sought a state license, and she summoned the state employee who ran the office to her office to talk to her. Right? Yeah. So Cassidy Peters, who's her daughter, wanted to become a certified real estate appraiser. And the South Dakota agency moved to deny her application, and she summoned that person into her office with her daughter in attendance. This is corruption at its, like, the nepotism is incredible. Cassidy Peters, who is the daughter, ultimately obtained her certification in November 2020, 4 months after the meeting in her mother's office. A week after that, the Labor Secretary called the agency head, Sherry Bren, so this is the person that was denied the certification, to demand her retirement. And according to an age discrimination complaint, Bren left the job past March, which would be March 21, I believe. When was this thingo? Yeah, so after this, and the state paid her $200,000 to withdraw the complaint. So basically, she was basically told by the labor secretary who works for the governor, like keep that in mind, to retire because of age. She put an age discrimination complaint, and the government paid them out because she wasn't being fired for age discrimination. She was being fired because she didn't want to give the governor's daughter a certification she did not deserve. Like, this is absolutely corrupt, in my opinion. It is just corruption. Like the state, and I mean, you could argue that, oh, her daughter didn't get the certification, she just happened to have a meeting with the head of that agency and her daughter in attendance, and then she got the certification after the labor secretary asked that person to resign. It maybe it's a coincidence, but it sure does look like nepotism. It sure does look like nepotism to me. So the funniest thing I found out about this woman, and it really just shows just how clueless this woman is, right? Just how absolutely clueless this woman is. So she spent, and and keep in mind that 200,000, that's tax dollars, right? That is your tax dollars at work, and so we see consistently that Kirsty or Christy or whatever her name is, gnomes here, will divert money into personal, like, things that will benefit her. Like spending the pandemic thing on an ad campaign for South Dakota, paying out people that have denied her family certificate. Like, seriously, using tax money to further her own ends. But this is the funniest one of all. So this is the almost $500,000 campaign, an ad campaign to address the drug crisis that Kirsty Gnomes did. The slogan, meth, we're on it. You can't make this stuff up. I swear, you can't make this stuff up. So, yeah, the meth, we're on it awareness initiated was unveiled Monday. Yes, to address the state's meth, and they thought that the best slogan to use is meth, we're on it. I mean, did nobody look at this? Like, how would that actually get into an ad? Like, not one person looked at it and showed it to an aide or a young person or put it by a panel. Like, did maybe a audience reception, like a feedback, or nobody asked anything about it, really. And they decided to go with meth, we're on it. So several of the advertisements featured photos of people stamped with meth, I'm on it. I'm not even making this up. Like, seriously. I'm not even joking. Like, this is the hilarious meth, we're on it. Did none of these guys say, hey, did they know? Did they think that they were just being used as a picture? How did this come about? Who's responsible for this? Like, think about it. $500,000 of South Dakotans' tax money went into that. Like, why? And there's other stuff as well. I'm going to leave that up. That's just too good. That's too good. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. Like it's just too good. So other things she's done is that she's she signed a bill abolishing South Dakota's permit requirements to carry a concealed hound gun. She spent a she sought to build a gun range. She's so pro NRA, it's ridiculous. In 2023, so this is just last year, she basically said her 2-year-old grandchild has several guns. Sorry, I gotta do the zoomy thing here. Oop. So her grandchild Addie already had a shotgun and a rifle. Now, Addie, you know who, soon you will need them. I want to reassure you, she already has a shotgun, she already has a rifle, and she's got a little pony named Sparkles too. So the girl is set up. You better hope Sparkles doesn't bite anybody, or God forbid, throw anybody, because Sparkles may be looking down the barrel of a shotgun wielded by a homicidal 2-year-old. Sparkles, get out of there. It's not safe. It's not safe. Yeah, and some of the cold child protection services. Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it like you don't give a 2-year-old guns. What's wrong with these people? The only thing that can stop a 2-year-old with a gun is another 2-year-old with a gun. I don't know what the hell they're doing. And quite frankly, this dog ditcher is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So yeah, that's sort of an insight into gnomes, which I wasn't going to go this much into gnomes because, of course, I'm more geared towards counter apologetics than I am towards American politics. But this was too good. Like, when I started following this down, it got like, this is absurd. This woman's life is absurd, and she's currently sort of the highest authority in South Dakota, as far as I can tell. How does this person make it into power? It's ridiculous. This is one of the stupidest things I've seen in quite some time. What are you guys doing over there? I'm sorry. It's just, if you're running ads to alleviate the drug crisis, and those ads are meth, we're on it. You're incompetent at that point. I'm really sorry. That is just pure incompetence. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, your leaders. And totally, I get you. It's not your fault. It's not sort of what doing. Well, I don't usually go for politics and stuff. It was just Big Bad Mama. I had a reason why I was leading into this, and I want to give a big shout out to BBM. And I got to post a video with BBM, and I haven't forgotten about it. I don't already post that one. I think I already posted it, didn't I? There's another Room Rumble I've got to post, but it requires editing, and I will get to it. But I do want to transition into sort of what fundamentalists actually think of animals now, because so it's a contentious issue. This has got people absolutely furious, and I understand why. I completely get why. People love their animals, and I can understand why. I think that unnecessary cruelty to animals is really wrong, or unnecessary actions against animals is really wrong. Sort of, so, shooting cricket is probably not that. I mean, it may be necessary if a dog is completely and utterly, it will bite humans all the time. I understand that that dog maybe have to be put down. Like, I get that. But it doesn't sound like she did everything possible. And I think that that is something to be decided by, authority figures and people who are experienced in training dogs, not just sort of some crazy religious person who fancies themselves a rancher. I mean, apparently she was raised on a ranch, but like, do we know she has any proficiency in training dogs whatsoever? She's got an electric collar, which most dog trainers don't use. I mean, it said an electronic. I presume it was electric. So that's the only time I agree with it, when a dog is, I mean, I get that we can't have dogs harming humans, but it's not the dog's fault. It's absolutely regrettable. Not just sort of, I did this because it's necessary. It's really weird. It's very, very strange. But I wanted to so I went through and I sort of found some responses that I'm not sure why that's not coming up in a Chrome tab. Give me 1 second. I wanted to get some fundamentalist responses to the animal stuff, and luckily I have the very butt for the job. I have the perfect butt that I can always turn to. So I'll just get this in Chrome because I prefer it in Chrome. And let's see what our favorite butt has to say about it. This is on Kyle Butt's channel. It's called Valuing Human Life. It's great. It's absolutely great. And I'll be talking about it as we go through.
Suppose you're standing on a pier, you're looking at a lake, and you see that your dog is drowning, and your dog has a
Well, don't shoot it. It's fine. Rescue the dog.
hurt leg, and it can't swim, and without your help, it's going to die. And at the same time, there's an older man that you don't know. He's a complete stranger, and he has fallen into the lake, and he is injured as well, and he's drowning. And if you don't help him, then he will drown, and you have one life preserver. And
yeah, so basically he's setting up a moral dilemma. This is just basic sort of trolley problem. And it's hilarious because these kind of, like, I don't see fundamentalists going into trolley problems very much. They don't like them. And the reason why is because under ordinary circumstances, I would probably save the man. I probably would, because that's a human rather than a dog. And however, if the man is like Jeffrey Dahmer, I'd probably save the dog, right? So a lot of it depends on A, who the dog is to you, whether it's your pet or not, and B, who the man is to you, which is moral relativity. That's sort of saying, hey, it may be right to save the dog. Like, just say the dog's a bomb dog or something very noble, and the human is a convicted murderer. Saving the dog might actually be the correct call morally, because the dog will provide a lot more well-being to humans than that person will. I don't know. It all gets fuzzy. It all gets very, very, there's a lot of questions.
And you have to decide to which of these two are you going to throw your life preserver. The one that you throw the preserver to will live. The other one will die.
Okay, so what you do is you take the dog out to a gravel pit with your shock. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So which one do you personally save?
I would probably save the human. I probably would. I don't think that it's immoral to let the human die and save the dog. I understand that to some people, like, I've met people before who like dogs more than humans because dogs have never done anything to them and humans, like, I get that. That's totally fine. I don't say, hey, that's immoral or whatever. My morality is based upon humanism, so I have to prioritize a human above the dog in ordinary circumstances, with all things being equal. But as I said, hey Jess, the with all things being equal, but as the circumstances change, it might be beneficial to save the dog. I get that. Star Song, stop. That is not the thing. It's a moral dilemma. You don't get to get around it by coming up with a clever solution. It's there to test your morals, not your ingenuity. Stop. Like, stop. Then stop. No, you're not allowed to do that.
It may or may not surprise you that
Yeah, there he is, our favorite. It's Butt. It's the best Butt I have ever met. That's Carl Butt. He's an apologist and does these videos, and I don't know, for some reason I just find him hilarious. And it's interesting. Like, think about what he goes into here.
that many people, when they are asked that question about a situation like this, they choose their dog and they say they would allow the older stranger man to die. And what we've just described is something called a moral dilemma. The word moral dilemma means making a decision about something that's right or wrong.
Yeah, so basically, our favorite Butt has just described. Wow, it is at 1.25. You are a slow talker, sir. That's moral relativity. Some people say, "Hey, I'd rather save the dog. It's more important to me," and I totally understand that. Relative to you, that may be a family member, right, as opposed to a stranger. And I get that people's morals vary depending on, sort of what the circumstances are, and their pet may be more impactful to their well-being and the well-being of themselves than some stranger. And I get that. I totally get that. And I don't think that's an immoral choice. I just think that my morals are that humans take priority, and that's where I base my morals. But I don't expect everybody to be the same. And like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean all humans are better than all, or more worthy of saving than all animals. Certainly, there's some animals that are way better than some humans. Like, there are some specimens of humans that, you really don't prioritize above some animals. Kirsty Gnome's probably been the one of them. Look, I'm firmly on the side of cricket here. Like, between cricket and Kirsty Gnomes, I would throw the preserver to frigging cricket, quite frankly, because what a horrible, evil woman. Seriously. Yeah.
And the word dilemma means that we are torn between two options, and there are things about each of the options that seem to trouble us, choices that are disturbing in some way. So, what this moral dilemma is trying to get us to see, is trying to get you to see, is what you value the most. Do you value the life of your own dog more than you value the life of a strange human older man?
Yeah, so it's not really. So moral dilemmas are there not to think about what you value. It's there to get us thinking about what we ought to do in given situations when you change the parameters of those dilemmas. So the classic moral dilemma is the trolley problem. If you're unfamiliar with the trolley problem, it's basically that a trolley is headed down a track. If it continues along the track, it will hit 5 people who have been tied to the track by some evil genius kind of thing, some evil madman. Or Kirsty Gnomes, presumably, maybe. Maybe it was Kirsty Gnomes that tied the people to the track. Entirely believable. Now, you've got a lever that you can pull that will sideline the track, but it will kill one person. And so it's to get you to think about how your decisions impact the world and what you would choose, and the consequences for those choices that you make. A lot of people would hide behind, well, I want to pull the lever and then I'm not culpable. But I would argue, even in not making a decision to pull the lever, then you've made a decision in and of itself. You've already changed the course of that event. It really is up to you. So inaction is a type of action, if that makes sense. So doing nothing isn't doing nothing at all. That is something which is, inaction. So that's the choice that's presented out in front of you. but we can change the parameters of it. What if it's one of your children tied to the other track with the 1 on it instead of the 5? Then you might sacrifice 5 person to save your child. What if the 5 people are all convicted criminals? That might change it as well. It's to get us to think about what we're basing that decision on. And I don't think there's really a hard and fast right answer at all. I think that with moral dilemmas, it isn't to say, hey, this choice is wrong and this choice is right. It's to get us to think about the consequences of our decisions. And yeah, I guess he is right in a way what we value, but it's weird to hear a creationist say that, because that is moral relativity. And Robin has sent through a super chat, the wonderful lady assassin herself. Bam, and hits Spooky bed hair. Spooky, congratulations. Enjoy your emotes and benefits. Chicken. There you go, Spooky. Congratulations. So yeah, Carl's kind of right. I don't disagree with anything that he's really said so far.
Maybe what we really need to ask is, which of these two does God value more? Because
well, the first question is, how do you know what God values? Like, apart from the Bible, because you know what the Bible says that God values, but how do you know that isn't, dog Jesus that's drowning? I suppose if it was dog Jesus, they could just walk on water. But how do you know what God values, really? Because all you can do is read the Bible and take an interpretation of it. I don't see how anybody can actually know what God thinks about dogs.
as humans created by God, our values should be the same as God's values. Therefore, if we can determine if God values one of these more than the other, then our question will be answered. And the truth is, God has told us exactly which life he values the most.
So the other problem here is that you want to say what God values, but that is moral subjectivity. It means that if God decides tomorrow that dogs are more worthy than humans, then that changes. You've got a real shifting sand problem there. That if it's based upon what God values, God's values can presumably change with his decisions. Wait, who am I banning? Am I banning Robin? Who am I banning? I'll do it. Is it Mark Stoney? I'll do it.
After the flood that he sent that covered the whole world, he gave Noah's family permission to kill and eat every kind of animal in the world.
Look, I'm joking, Mark. Don't relax, buddy. I'm joking. No, it's fine. Yeah, okay. God said to eat every animal, sure.
And that would include all the kinds, like dogs and cats and pigs and horses and guinea pigs and hamsters and parakeets and rabbits and sugar gliders.
Okay, so one thing, full props to your research of thingos. But okay, you've got a whole bunch of stock images. That's great.
And God said to Noah, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herb. In the New Testament, God repeats
every moving thing. Every moving thing. Really? What about cane toads? Like incredibly poisonous toads. And I don't mean venomous, I mean poisonous. I mean like you eat them and you frigging die. Did God give that as food for me? They move. Pretty sure they do. Yeah, so apparently that's a good point. I didn't think about that one. Humans move, don't they? There you go, What? Definitely humans. Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. Let's go.
God repeated.
You heard it here first. Kyle Butt supports cannibalism. It's all coming out.
This idea. And he said that after Jesus came to earth, some people would be teaching false and incorrect ideas that certain animals were unclean. and that you should abstain from eating animals or those unclean animals. But God insisted that every creature of God is good and nothing is to be refused if it is.
Every creature of God. What about every shot I pause this man on? It's just fantastic. Like I swear, the man is amazing in the way that his face comes out in every single like pause I ever do on him. He's the gift that just keeps on giving. I gotta save this. I really do. I'm sorry. It's just too hilarious. I love it. I mean, I probably look the same when you pause me, but it's too good. It's too good. It's too good. Yeah, that's going into my my thumbnail bank.
If it is received with thanksgiving.
So what about tapeworms? Are they good? Are they good? What about, like, brain parasites? Are they good? Can we eat them? This is the sort of reductio ad absurdum, or the absurd level that it goes to. Every creature of God is good. What about snakes? Are snakes good? Because I'm pretty sure that your Bible has a problem with snakes.
It may seem odd to you that God says it's fine to eat dogs. That may be disgusting to you. Since many of us have dogs as pets, we might think that dogs are pets, not food.
Okay, so Butts basically is saying, hey, it's fine to eat dogs. Ugh. Okay. I've got a feeling that I mean, poor Cricket. Not only is Kirsty Gnomes shooting Cricket, Kyle Butt wants to eat Cricket.
Food. But having a dog as a pet is a cultural idea. And by that, we just simply mean that different cultures all over the world view dogs in different ways.
Yeah, so it's amazing that Kyle Butt stumbling around just stumbles over moral relativity. That, hey, in different cultures, dogs are seen as food. Yes, they have been. They still are in certain cultures. In Mongolian culture, horse is definitely considered a staple food kind of thing. Because the Mongolians have been riding ponies for ages, and a lot of their food came from there. This whole idea that dogs are pets is a cultural thing, but why we don't do that is more because of humans and the way humans view our uplifting of wild wolves into domesticated animals, and sort of companions for humans. It's not to do with any sort of objective position of dogs, but that is moral relativity. And it's weird that Kyle Butt sort of stumbles over it while he's talking about what God wants. It's really weird.
As they do any number of animals. For instance, what do you think about cockroaches? Do they sound like pets to you? Probably not. They certainly don't sound like pets to me.
I absolutely know people that absolutely adore cockroaches. Bree from Hive Science, I'm looking in your direction here. She absolutely loves cockroaches. Like, I've known people that love cockroaches. I've known people that love spiders as pets. I don't know.
And you probably have no problem squishing one if you see it in your house. But did you know that many people have cockroaches as pets? And what about eating beef, like a steak or a hamburger? Does God allow us to eat a cow, which is where beef comes from?
And the cow's going, yes. I don't know where he got his stock footage guy was on point. On point.
Well, he certainly does. But there are many people in the nation of India. They believe that it's morally wrong to eat a cow.
Yeah, they consider cows sacred. There's a few animals like that. There's certain animals that are considered sacred. So all that Kyle is doing is pointing out moral relativity, which is hilarious because he doesn't claim moral relativity. He claims an objective moral stance based upon what God wants. So I don't know where he's going with this one, basically saying, hey, it seems to be that what is right and wrong as far as, killing animals and eating them is dependent on cultural attitudes and religious perception towards those animals. Well, yeah. Welcome to moral relativity, Kyle. I don't know what his point is, really.
They believe that's wrong to kill a cow. And the point is simply this, that God allows us to kill and to eat every kind of animal in the world. Just because certain cultures call some animals pets or they value other animals above the next different kind of animal, that doesn't change the way God views animals.
So I don't like Kyle. I would watch your dogs around Kyle. If he gets hungry, I don't give them 2 seconds. Like, basically he's saying, because I believe, because God has never said anything to anybody. All of this is taken from the Bible, which wasn't written by a God. It was written by humans. Like, there's no God writing the Bible. All of this has to be interpreted from the Bible. So he basically says, well, God allows me to eat anything. Okay. Weird.
The ancient Egyptians, they literally worshipped cats, and the death penalty was implemented to anyone who harmed or killed a cat. But God didn't value cats over other animals.
Yeah, I've got a feeling the cats were behind that one. I've got a feeling that the cats orchestrated that from the shadows. Look, I mean, cats are very, very useful in society. They keep a lot of vermin, a lot of pests away, kind of thing. But we've got to think, why are the cats more important than the vermin they're killing? Right? Why are the cats on a special place above, say, rats and mice and all of these vermin that they catch and kill? And the reason why is because it's beneficial for humans. That's the only reason why. It's that, sort of rats and other vermin, they bring disease and sort of eat our crops and it's all in relation to human. That's moral relativity for you. But if God put everything on the same level, right, that you can eat anything that's moving, why do you value cats? Why are cats valued? Because obviously, and he sort of says, well, that's cultural. Sure. But further than that, cats are valued because they're useful for humans. Above and beyond just being pets, they're also useful in certain circumstances, and we have a cultural understanding of that. Cats also kill, in Australia, they kill native birds. They're merciless terrors when it comes to killing native animals, because the native animals of Australia never evolved beside cats. And let me tell you, cats are, and they have been bred for, to be relentless killing machines. Like, I'm really sorry if you own a cat and this upsets you, but that's what cats have evolved and selectively evolved, like through artificial selection, to be able to chase and kill fast prey. That's what they've been bred for. That's what they're good at. That's what they've been bred for. And so they've got very fast reflexes. They've got lightning speed. They can climb really well. They can catch things with their claws. They have been bred to chase things and kill them. The problem comes that you introduce them to Australia, where animals haven't had the selection pressures of cats, and they start absolutely decimating the natural fauna. We have cats here and we put bells around them so that at least the birds and the other native animals have a fighting chance against the cat. You've got to give them a handicap of some sort, because crap, those cats will just murderize all of the native fauna, and we've got a very, very sensitive ecology. So there's a reason why because our development as humans, in regards to dogs as protectors and guardians of our flocks, and able to herd, and as an extension of the human pastoral and agricultural system. Like, a dog is almost was used in the past as sort of an agricultural tool. It helped out with everything. And cats, which protected our grains and our things from vermin and pests, these two animals hold a special place in our cultural our cultural memory. And so it's usually why we value them so much. But like Butts is sitting here going, well, it's fine to eat cats and dogs, no problem at all, because God said we could. So any person with an objection over it is just a cultural thing. It's weird. It's very weird. Well, I say, well, no, it's not moral to do that, because it makes it upsets people because of the special place they hold in human our evolution through the agricultural stages.
And he said they could be eaten just like sheep or cows. In Genesis chapter 9, verse 3, God said all animals could be used as food, but he made it clear that human life is very different. Just a few verses down, he said, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For
Really? Really? I mean, you're basically saying death penalty for everything. This is the kind of very, very poor thinking that an eye for an eye gets you. It's very poor thinking, and it's not very so. There's a saying that an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, and that is true, because if you're punishing somebody for spilling blood with blood, all that gets to is escalation of violence. That's all that happens. Because just say you mistakenly convict someone, happens all the time. You shed blood, then that person has to be punished for shedding blood. And it goes on and on and on.
For in the image of God, he made man. Notice that God values human life above all animal life, because humans are made in the image and likeness of God. Animals aren't made in God's image. That means they don't make moral decisions. They can't sin. They don't have an immortal soul that lives on.
Well, can animals make moral decisions? I think I had a debate on this, and I think I would. I don't think it's so close. Like, animals are sort of right on the verge of morality. So we've got to ask first, what is morality? So what actually is morality? So morality is the code of conduct put forth by any population that this code of conduct governs how they ought to act. So do animals have a code of conduct? And I would say no, asterisk. So I don't think they have a code of conduct because nothing is sort of systemized, but I think that they do have sort of a proto-morality, like sort of the very stages before a code of conduct. That there are certain expectations in animal systems of how a member of that tribe or that group ought to behave. I usually point to things like meerkats, for instance, who the meerkats that are not hunting or not very good at hunting, not participating, they're expected to keep watch and they take turns, and they seem to have, I mean, it's really hard to tell with animals, right? But they seem to have an expectation of, if you haven't watched, you've got to contribute by watching, and that's when they stand up and look around, kind of thing. They keep watch for the rest, and that seems to be an expectation, studying their behavior. So does that count as moral behavior? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it does, because nothing is systemized, nothing is codified, nothing is sort of written down as a standard, or at least remembered as a standard. Do they have an oral code? No, because there's no real language. But they certainly do have some kind of expectation of or really some kind of awareness of what is transgressive to normative behavior. So what do I mean by that? That they may not have an idea of one should do this, this, and this in order to be a good meerkat or a good dog or a good whatever. But they do, by using empathy and reciprocity, have an awareness that I don't like this behavior in my group. I don't like what you are doing. They seem to have that awareness at least, and that's bare minimum, right? That when one monkey takes another monkey's food, a third one who's not involved will go, I don't like that. That's not conducive to the society. Does that rise to morals? I don't think so. Is it really close to moral structure? Yes, absolutely. So I had a massive debate with Bree, and she brought up some fantastic points, which I was struggling to sort of say, no, it's definitely not morality. It could be. But I don't think it rises to morality. But that's such a tentative position. I think that very little to convince me would say, hey, animals have morality. So can they make moral decisions? No, but they're close to being able to do so. I think that is very close to being able to do so.
That lives on after they die. So which life does God value more? Your dogs or the older human stranger? The Bible
I'm going to take a wild guess and say the older human stranger, but
is very clear. God values every human life over all animal life.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I think that if you've got Jeffrey Dahmer who's drowning, and you know that if he gets out, he's just going to kill somebody else, and you've got a sort of like a dog that does sort of a blind eye dog, right? A seeing eye dog. I think at that point, the seeing eye dog is actually worth more than that human. I think that human will do nothing but cause misery and suffering, while the dog will actually benefit a human in a very real and tangible way. I think that I think that dog would outweigh the human. But the problem here is, and a problem that I see with Christians, is that they say, oh, all humans have intrinsic value. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that humans have value. Some humans, through the actions that they've taken and the mental state that they are in, have actually negative value. I think that somebody, an evil person like Hitler, for instance, actually has negative value towards humanity because of the awful actions that they are doing. I don't think there is intrinsic value to that person. I don't think there's intrinsic value to any person. I think it's just we kind of are neutral, and as we go along, we either do things that help the well-being of other humans and society and our planet in general, or we take negative actions. So I don't think there's sort of an intrinsic good and evil to people. I think that develops over time.
Humans are made in God's image, and that means they're much more important than every and all animals in the world, even if it's my own dog or cat.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think that if you've got a mass murdering psychopath like, say, Kristi Noem, who's a mass, I'm joking. She killed her dog and a goat. I'm not sure if that's mass murder. If you think it is, I agree with you. It's really, yeah. So if you've got somebody like that and you've got a good boy dog, I think that the dog may be worth more. Maybe, yeah. Would I prioritize always the rescuing of a human? I think there would be someone has to be pretty bad to make me prioritize another animal. I mean, over a human. I think things would have to be pretty damn bad. Though, I wouldn't prioritize something like a cockroach over a human, or prioritize, a fish over a human. Like, so if there's a fish, like someone's fishing, they haul out a fish and the fish is dying on land and they fall in and they're drowning, I think I'd rescue the human, right? No matter how good the fish is, it doesn't matter. And I think that's due to the dogs and stuff being their capacity to help humans, and that part of humanism I'm really looking at for it. So the question becomes, well, why do I prioritize humans? And I think the answer is because I'm a human. I think that's subjective too. I think that if I was a capuchin monkey, I would prioritize a capuchin monkey over a human. I think it is that sort of moral relativism, that, relative to me, humans are really important, but I don't think something else is. I don't think a bear is going to feel the same way.
The value of a single human soul is worth more than all the animals in the entire world.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think that if someone was going around and like massacring every animal on earth, we would do anything to stop that person. Like, seriously, that is absolutely, like, think about what he's saying. He's saying that, hey, if somebody was just killing dogs and cats, they're still worth more. I don't think that's true. I think there will come a level where your actions are detrimental to all of, I think that's a weird thing to say. I mean, it would be very difficult to weigh up, like, how many dogs is a human worth, or how many cockroaches is a human worth. But at the end of the day, I still think there would be a time where you would say, hey, one human doesn't outweigh all the bees, for instance. Like if someone had released a virus to kill all the bees or something. Like it's very difficult to weigh up. And I at least want to give Carl Butt here credit for making me think about it. How many cockroaches is a person worth? 1 million? 2 million? I don't know. It's an interesting question, though.
Let's make sure that we learn to value the same things God values, and that we
Oh, sir, you don't know what God values. You don't even know that God values anything at all. You have a book that claims stuff. I don't think a God exists. So I don't think a God values anything. And then you've got the problem that you've got subjective morality. It all depends on, if God decides tomorrow that cockroaches are worth more than humans, you're in trouble for squishing those cockroaches. Or, if the God actually decides to say, hey, cows are now sacred and important, more important than humans, then all the beef, you're in trouble now. Last try. Yeah, I think it'd be fair to say that. And hi, Missing Mod, how are you doing? Yeah, I think it'd be fair to say that. Yes. Yeah, I think that would be fair to say.
we recognize the importance and the extreme value of all human life.
Okay, so that's Butts. His name's Carl Butt. I don't know. I just find him hilarious, and every time I pause him, he makes a funny face. So I appreciate him. But between him and just an average dog, I would save Carl Butt. So I hope that pleases Mr. Butt. I would save him over. Yeah. Do I have a pet to make that determination? No, I don't. I don't have any pets. My wife is incredibly allergic to dogs and incredibly allergic to cats. So I'm probably a cat person. I love cats. I absolutely adore cats. I have owned cats in the past. Love them to death. Would I save my cat over just an average person that I didn't know? Probably not. Probably not. No. I think I would value the person but don't forget, like in that particular scenario, I've also, you know, in my youth, I was a surf lifesaver. So, you know, I think, you know, I think I would, and that would be incredibly sad. But I think I would value human life over a cat's life, or my cat's life, really. So this brought up a really interesting question for me, a really interesting question, and that is, so Kyle seems to think humans are all above it and that humans are something special, but that brought up the question in my mind of, do dogs and cats, do your pets go to heaven? And it crossed my mind, so I kind of Googled a little bit, you know, just roamed around YouTube a little bit. And it's really interesting that, you know, this is really weird. So this is the afterlife part of it. So, you know, little cricket who got, you know, pooch peppered in the gravel pit. Rip cricket, rest in peace, rest in peace, cricket. Will little cricket be going to heaven? Right? That's the question. And so looking around this, we've found a few different things. So I want to share some people, some, I guess, I mean, you might say I'm arguing from authority, but these are just some examples of people. So this is Pat Robertson, who died recently. I presume he knows whether they're in heaven now. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, is that a Jedi I see? That is a Jedi I see. Left-handed Jedi, thank you so much. Gifted 5 readerships. And who did we hit? Who are the victims of your rampant readership abuse? Who are the victims? We have Tsunami. We have Skirmish. We have Tilting Windmill. I love that. Tilting Windmill. We have Towers, and we have Tiny Pink Penguin. Oh, I love that too. Tilting Windmill, is that a Don Quixote reference? Because I love that. That's awesome. Don Quixote. Winner, chicken dinners all round. Thank you so much, Left-Handed Jedi. I really appreciate it. Really do. That's fantastic. Love it. Oh, don't I actually, now that reminds me, don't we have some readerships to give out because it's a new month? Who wants a readership? Who wants it? Put in chat, give me a readership, and I'll try to hit you. Anybody want a readership? And anybody wants some emotes? Anyone wants some emotes and lovely colors and bright things to make you smile? Anybody? Ooh. There you go. And so 5 readerships have gone out from that Mark Reed guy. You are Victoria. Nice. I hit her. Yes. Jasper, Binge Thinker, Deviant Outcast. Nice. I hit Deviant Outcast with a readership. That is good stuff. Danny Gondonor. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. It's terrible. But have a readership to make up for it. Congratulations. Bam. Bam, bam, and bam. Wow, I hit Deviant Outcast. That is a good shot. Take that, Deviant Outcast. Take that. I hit you like Kirsty Gnomes hit cricket with shotgun shell. That's terrible. Why am I making jokes about that? It's actually terrible. It's actually terrible. Like, I don't mean to make light of it. It's just, it's so brutal, you know? Like, it is so brutal. It's hard not to, like, I don't know. Maybe I deal with stuff that I'm angry about with humor kind of thing, because it's just so awful. It is awful. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Last Fry, but really, I mean, I think that trying to find a home first is probably a good idea. Yeah, rip cricket. I get you. I get you. Anyway, let's see what Pat Robertson's got to say, because he's an authority on what's in heaven.
Animals in heaven besides only horses, as you always say. What do you think? Well, this was a vision. He didn't say it actually. I mean, he had a vision of a sheet coming down with all these crawly creatures and snakes and stuff like that, and the words that arise, kill, and eat. And he said, no, they're unclean. I can't do it. And God used that to show him that the Gentiles were to come into the church. But it said he saw a sheet coming down. It was a vision. But it didn't actually come down. He was in his mind seeing it. Okay.
Do you think there are other animals in heaven besides horses?
How could there possibly be?
Well, what do you think happened to all those dogs you brought on?
Well, the book of Ecclesiastes, the soul of man goes up, the soul of the...
Yeah, it's sort of, Pat says no. Pat says no. No heaven for cricket. Cricket rejected from heaven. It's terrible.
beast goes into the ground.
Well, there you go. Okay. I think
Yeah, so that's Pat Robinson, but I got a few more because this was one thing, and I want to make this clear. This was one thing where people are incredibly, or apologists are incredibly tentative around this question, right? It's weird to say. It's weird as I say it, but I want to get you to realize that apologists, they tiptoe around this question. This is Mike Winger. So Mike Winger, who's pretty well known as well, he chimes in on it. And I want to go through what he says as well, because he goes into a lot more detail.
Would it be a stretch to believe that God would restore the animal spirit with the rest of creation, Romans 8:19-23, similar to how he will resurrect our bodies from the earth? Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge through your videos.
Okay, I'm going to give a tentative answer to this question.
Yeah, they're all tentative. They're all, apart from Pat Robinson, they're all so tentative. And the reason why, I think I've figured out the reason why, but I'll take you through that a bit later. I just want you to see what he says.
It is a challenge, but Ecclesiastes 3:21, I have even used this verse to say, hey, this may indicate the fate of animals, whether we will see animals in eternity, because I think we will, but whether or not they'll be our old pets. Like, will it be that same, will it be my old cat? No, I have cats. I love cats. Right? I love dogs and cats and fish and everything. Okay. So I'd like to say yes.
And that's the big question that Christians want answered. They don't really care if there's animals in heaven. They don't really care if there's animals in the afterlife. They want to know if Trigger, their dog that they love so much, are they just going nowhere? That's what they want to know, because sort of one of the things that we kind of, animals do and pets do is they don't really do anything wrong. Like I said earlier, there's no real bad dog, just bad owners. It's not the dog's fault that they haven't had the training they need, or it's kind of, they're kind of blameless. So people can't sort of blame a dog for being a dog. It's a dog, like it doesn't have the same understanding and morality that we do. So they want to know what happens to their beloved pets. And so for this reason, these newer evangelical preachers and apologists are so cautious around this question.
Yes, I want the answer to be yes, but I'm trying to set that aside and go with scripture here. So Ecclesiastes 3:21 says, who knows that this is NASB, who knows that the breath of man ascends upward and the breath of the beast descends downward to the earth. There's a little translation question here. Is it who knows if the breath of man goes up and the breath of beast goes down? Or is it who knows that the breath of man goes up and the breath of beast goes down?
Right. So most interpretations, like Pat Robinson mentioned this Ecclesiastes verse, most translations say that the breath of man goes up and the breath of animals goes down. So what you've got to understand about breath in the Bible, the breath is the soul. The breath is the spirit. Life is breath. There's a lot of people equated breath to life or breath to soul. So the way that humans were animated is they had the breath of God. And this is a common theme throughout a lot of ancient cultures. They equate breathing with the sort of animating force of everything. So you may be able to argue that dogs have souls, for instance, by saying the breath of animals. But the whole idea behind this verse is that humans' breath goes up to heaven, and sort of animals' breath just gets put in the ground, kind of thing, that doesn't go anywhere. There's no afterlife for them. So and Pat Robinson referred that one. He's taking it more tentatively, but he does say yes, he would like to believe that there is dogs in heaven. His dogs and pets will be in heaven.
Goes down. I'm inclined to think that that translation is correct. I think that's more consistent with what we read in the next verse. I'll read that in a second. If that's the case, Ecclesiastes, very consistent with the book itself, is complaining that there's a lot of people who aren't paying attention to the fact that humans have to be accountable to God when they die, unlike animals who simply, they go down and what may be implied there, they just stop existing. That man has, not that they don't have a spirit or we don't have a spirit, rather just that they're different kinds of spirits. The animal spirit just ceases to exist and the human spirit goes to face God and be accountable for judgment.
Yeah, so he's basically saying personally he believes it, but scripturally you shouldn't. So which is well, I mean, he didn't say personally he believes it. He said personally he'd like to believe it, which I'm not sure is an admission of belief or not. And I want you to notice just how cagey he's being here. Like, he's not saying, hey, according to scripture, no. He's sort of saying, well, according to scripture, it kind of says this.
Now, if we look at it that way, then the end of verse 22 in the very next verse in Ecclesiastes 3, it makes a lot of sense. It says, I'll read the whole verse. I have seen that nothing is better than that a man should be happy with his activities, for that is his lot. For who will bring him to see what will occur after him? The concern in Ecclesiastes is with people who don't look beyond this life. Yeah, you may as well be happy with your lot because I can't get you to pay attention to the fact that you're going to face God when you die. So eat, drink, and be merry, because you're not going to pay any attention anyways. And
you're right. We're not going to pay any attention. It doesn't make any sense at all.
And this is part of a flow for Ecclesiastes. It kind of discusses life sort of in an atheistic, to use a modern term.
Yeah, that's not atheistic. It's there's no atheistic lifestyle. There may be a secular lifestyle. There may be a sort of an Epicurean lifestyle. There's no atheist lifestyle. That doesn't exist. Just not believing in God. I mean, you could say, I kind of find exception at lumping all atheists into this one thing, that, oh, atheists are just doing this, this, and this. There's a whole bunch of people who are atheists doing wildly different stuff. Like, for instance, if you have an atheist in China, for instance, they may have a vastly different worldview and lifestyle than your average, atheist in America, for instance. Stop lumping all atheist isn't a worldview. It's just a decision on one proposition. You can say secular, you can say non-religious.
An atheistic lifestyle, not necessarily atheistic beliefs, but an atheistic lifestyle, a lifestyle that just lives as if all there is what's under the sun. That's the phrase we get, under the sun, as if there's nothing beyond the sun, no God who created. Then he finally brings you full circle to.
So that phrase, everything under the sun, does that, I get, it's really weird for the Bible to use those kind of phrases, because we know there's stuff beyond the sun. We're aware of this. It's the fact that the people who wrote the Bible didn't know there was anything beyond the sun, right? That they thought that we lived under a dome and things like that. Like, I don't, there was the dome of the heavens kind of thing, and we why didn't they know about other galaxies and other suns, other stars? I don't know, but it's certainly suspicious. I would guess it's probably because the Bible was not written by a God, it was written by man. Whether it was inspired by God is another story, but certainly was written by man.
Circle to, but we all will stand before God. Ecclesiastes teaches us that. So I think that I actually think, regardless of your translation here, if for that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bobber. The under is a really weird definition. It may be a translation issue. But yeah, it's very weird to say that.
I think you're getting the idea that animals seem to have a different kind of future, and it seems implied that there isn't a spirit future for the animal. I think that men do, and that's what it's trying to say. The Ecclesiastes 12:7 says, "The dust returns to the earth, and the spirit will return to God who gave it." Speaking of Genesis, when God breathed the spirit into man, right? We all have breath of life, but man has a different kind of spirit being made in the image of God.
We all have breath of life. So this ties into sort of so during these ancient times, people thought that the breath is what animated the body, because if you think about it from this very, very primitive view, people that are alive, they all breathe, and when they die, that breath goes away, they stop breathing. So in a way they're right, in a way they're horribly, horribly wrong. It's not the breath animating the body in some way. That's just, we understand now that we just have to get oxygen in order to power our things. It's not that breath isn't magical. It's nothing like that. But that's the way they used to think. And also, as I sort of gearing up for my debate against Hussein about Muslim theology, there was cardiocentrism as well, where people thought the center of thoughts was the heart, right? So they thought that the heart did all of the thinking. And so in parts of the Quran, and even the Bible refers to it, about reasoning in your heart. And it isn't because they're not being metaphorical. They're not sort of going, oh, well, we use the metaphor, in your heart, this. It's because they thought you actually think from your heart. Because when you have a big thought and you feel it in your heart. We understand now the function of the brain, but a lot of the time back then, they literally thought your thoughts occurred in your heart. And that it's more a case of, instead of those people in ancient times using a modern metaphor of, oh, well, from the bottom of my heart, it's more that our culture has taken that as an extension, or that's what I believe anyway. I think that by the time sort of things got on a bit to sort of a bit later on in Greek Hellenistic periods, I think they understood it a bit differently. But I know that the earlier times, cardiocentrism was definitely a thing.
So there's not really a lot on this. This is very little to base a doctrine on about the fate of animals. I have to admit that. But it doesn't seem to go, it seems to weigh against and not for the idea of resurrection for animals, as opposed to just animals in heaven, which I do think is true. I should say in heaven. I really mean in the new creation, new heavens, when heaven and earth come together. Yeah, animals there. That seems to be the case from many different scriptures.
Yeah, so he thinks that, like, in the new kingdom that Jesus will come back and set up, there will be animals, there will be sort of, things like that. But he's sort of being very cagey about the pets. Very cagey indeed. And this is a common theme with nearly every single modern apologist I came across. They were insanely cagey about it. This is Doug Wilson, who's another apologist. This one is from a bit further ago, but sort of keep in mind, this is a very, very simple question. Do your pets go to heaven? Will you have your pets in heaven? Will you see your beloved dog or cat in heaven? It's a very simple question, and the fact that they can't answer and are sort of tiptoeing around it so much.
Be resurrected.
Let's start with
more
this.
specifically still, will I see Willie in heaven?
And that's the question. Will I see my dog in heaven? That's the question that they want to know, which is just fascinating. Super chat from Left-Handed Jedi. Do flat earthers go to flat heaven? Is heaven flat? Is the globe Earth heaven flat? That's the real question, Jedi. The flat earthers go to flat heaven. Maybe flat earthers go to globe heaven and globe earthers go to flat heaven. You ever thought about that? Maybe it's reversed. I don't know. But thank you so much for your $2 super chat, Left-Handed Jedi. Always appreciate your support. Absolutely love it. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna thumb up that and give it a heart. Thank you. And Left-Handed Jetta, always fantastic support from you. I really do appreciate it.
I would say that all depends on whether Willie was a good dog or a bad dog.
Very.
Yeah, so think about that. Was Willie a good dog or a bad dog? So is there a dog hell? Is Cricket, because he chased pheasants? You know, not only does he have the indignity to be assassinated in a gravel pit by a murderous Republican right winger, but are they also suffering in wire terrier hell right now? Is this what's happening? Do we know? How do we know? It's incredible that they're weighing in on this. Mark Stoney for $2. Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it. No, your pets will not go to heaven. How do you know? How do you know? I don't know how you know, but I don't think there's a heaven. I don't think anybody's going to heaven because I don't think there's a heaven. This is where we come to the absurdity of it. And I will get to that, why I'm sort of saying that. It's sort of absurd. Oh, hello, Jenna. So good to see you. I feel like I haven't talked to you in ages, but yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate the support, mate. I really do. Thank you so much. And I'll give that a little heart and thumbs up too. Mark Stoney, one of my Christian friends, who is an awesome guy.
Well, here's the thing, and this is a question that baffles me, actually, and it baffles me because there's a passage in the New Testament that addresses it directly. So in 1 Corinthians 15, when Paul's talking about the resurrection, he says all flesh is seed, right? So our flesh, our bodies are seed, and they are resurrection seed. They go in the ground, and they're to be raised. And so Paul says very expressly, all flesh is seed. And then he says birds have one kind of seed, birds are one kind of seed. And he goes through the different kinds of animals and saying they're different kinds of seed. So I would say, of course, animals are going to be resurrected. Extinction is not forever.
Could somebody, if they
Right. So he's arguing that sort of if people have the flesh as seed and the dogs have a different kind of seed, then that seed is going to be resurrected, whether it's an animal seed or a human seed. And I don't. It's very, very strange.
if they say, if it says there's different kinds of seed, can you say, well, man seed is something that gets resurrected, but
Okay, so I really wish he would stop using the term man seed. I'm so uncomfortable with the term man seed. I can't even explain it right. Like, seriously, please stop using that. Please, I'm begging you. I never want to hear the term man seed ever again.
but animal seed doesn't?
Well, no, the problem is that seed that doesn't grow into a plant isn't seed. It's not seed.
Yes, seed that doesn't grow into a plant is still seed. Have you ever heard of bird seed? Have you ever heard of bird seed? What about like seed that we crush, like wheat and things like I don't. What?
It's not seed. So the whole point of sowing seed, the whole point of putting seed in the ground is you're expecting a crop. Now, this question is, someone's going to try to do the reductio ad absurdum. Like, do you believe in the resurrection of mosquitoes, for example?
That's a good question. I mean, Butt went to cockroaches earlier. Cockroach is going to be resurrected. What about tapeworms? Is there tapeworm seed? Ooh. Is there tapeworm seed? Is there virus seed? Like, what are we talking about here?
I think C.S. Lewis was the one who said he thought that a hell for people and a heaven for mosquitoes could be very conveniently combined. But I would just appeal to 1 Corinthians 15. The types of seed that Paul refers to are sentient animals. He says nothing about microbes and bacteria and so forth. So I'm happy to be cheerfully agnostic about that.
Yeah, so the whole idea of being cheerfully agnostic means that you're sort of, you don't know and you don't want to know. You're happy to be ignorant, which like, isn't it an important question if someone has a pet cockroach, whether that cockroach will follow them to the afterlife? Um yeah, it's kind of odd. Like that you're saying, well, I'm cheerfully agnostic. I've never heard of anybody use that phrase before, that they're happy to be ignorant. Especially when a lot of people are really, like, from what I can see of the comments and sort of the videos on it, a lot of people of faith are really concerned with this, which is weird, but I can kind of understand it.
But I do believe that sentient creatures, mammals, reptiles, birds, I do believe that they are going to populate the resurrection state, and I believe Paul says that expressly. So,
yeah. So, what, sharks are gonna be resurrected? We're gonna have sharks in heaven. Are they going to be hungry? I have doubts. Are we going to get that Amazonian fish that swims up people's pee-pee? This is weird. This is so weird. Like, you could always come, like, you start thinking about it, and you're sort of like, okay, so heaven's going to have, so a sentient creature, ticks, for instance. Insects, are they sentient? I mean, I'm not sure what he says about what he means by sentient, right? So able to perceive or feel things is the definition I'm seeing here, like a conscious awareness of stimuli. I'm not sure. Like, some of the conscious creatures are absolutely dreadful. I'm not sure.
When you then you say, "Oh, that's kind of that's kind of weird," I would say, I would push back a little bit and say,
what about vultures? What are they going to eat? What about dung beetles? I'm so confused.
Why is it weird? Well, it's weird because a lot of Christians get their doctrine or theology of the resurrection more from Far Side cartoons than they do from the Bible. The Christian view is belief in the resurrection of the dead, and that means our bodies are going to be raised. But that our bodies are going to be raised, and we are going to live in this resurrected world in a new heavens and a new earth. Now, why? Do we think it's going to be a big parking lot? What do we think are we going to be standing around? Just well,
it's a good question. What do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be a garden? Is it going to, is that garden going to be devoid of animals? Are those animals going to be new animals? Is God going to populate the animals? Like, when you start getting down to this story, it becomes a little bit absurd.
Eternity to go. A lot of people think that we look at the glories of this fallen world, this bent world, the mountain ranges, the forests, all the animals, the sort of God's exuberance in life. And we tend to think that was God's high watermark. He sort of exhausted himself. And then because he's really nice to us, he's going to make one final effort and get us to come back from the dead. And then we're going to stand around in this parking lot, translucent gold. Well, I don't think that's the way it's going to be.
Well, part of the weirdness will be a lot of these will be animals that I ate.
Yes.
We'll be having trouble making eye contact.
Yeah, and these apologists, they've just hit on an amazing problem that didn't even cross my mind when I saw it. Well, if God's resurrecting all the animals that died, there's going to be, like, a cow that you participated in killing up there. That there's going to be, all these animals that were eaten by humans up there, which is weird, right? And you know, it's almost like oh, this is a great shot. It's almost like they're aware of it. Like it's absurd, right? Like you come, oh yeah, sorry for taking a T-bone off you, Mr. Cow. I didn't know we'd be resurrected all together. This is awkward. This is really awkward.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, everything will be put right. They would say they'll be concerned. Was I good bacon or bad?
Okay, so there's going to be talking pigs in heaven. There's going to be talking pigs in heaven. This is just, it just gets better and better. Like seriously, the bacon is inquiring. The pig is inquiring to whether its bacon was satisfactory in the mortal life. These people actually listen to themselves.
Okay. So if there's a good afterlife for animals, is there a bad afterlife for animals? Do all snakes go to hell?
Well, yeah, this is there's a.
Well, I mean, like some people have snakes and like snakes. I don't have a problem with snakes. Snakes are fine. I mean, constrictors are fine. I guess I have a problem with the venomous ones because, you know, venom. But that's more a problem with their venom than the snake itself. It's just being a snake. But, you know, yeah, people have like rock pythons and carpet pythons and stuff. And they love their animals.
There's a problem. You know, what about the hyenas? You know,
right.
Okay, so what's your problem with hyenas? Okay, you know, it's sort of like we're sort of anthropomorphizing or sort of applying our human values to these animals and going, oh, well, the hyena is bad because it's a scavenger. You know, much like earlier when I brought up the vulture, it's a scavenger and it you know, is seen as cowardly by us and it's seen as these things. You're putting your own stuff onto that. It's just a hyena. It's just trying to survive the best it can, which is what all animals are doing. Like, I don't know why God would go, well, I'm going to create this hyena to be a scavenger, to be, you know, incapable of fighting, you know, head to head with something like a lion, to hunt in packs and have this, you know, very distinctive laugh. But I'm gonna damn them to hell for being a hyena. What's that all about? I don't understand.
And I joked earlier about
just cats in general,
or cats. Cats are all Pharisees. Dogs are tax collectors. God be merciful to me, a sinner. And cats are Pharisees.
I don't understand. Cats are just cats. They're doing what cats do. Cats hunt. That's what we bred them for. That's what they were good at in the original place. And I believe they came from African hunting cats, which is sort of a wild version. You know, we're putting our own values on these animals. We are anthropomorphizing them. We're assigning them humanity and human traits. And that's a problem because they don't have that. These cats have never culturally grown up with human values. They haven't they have never been human. They have a different set of intentions and ways to survive than we do. That's why they're so useful. It's because while humans are really good at using tools and manipulating things and language and you know, sort of thought and stuff like that, higher level thought, they're particularly bad at that. We're not very fast, we're incredibly slow, and we're not very strong, we're incredibly weak. Like, don't, you know, I don't know why they're sort of anthropomorphizing animals. It's weird.
So you've got the hyena problem or the dragon problem, or, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that's where he started going on about dragons, which, you know, sort of comes up. So that's three of the apologists, sort of one after another, of one saying yes, well, the first one saying no, definitely not. The middle one saying, maybe Cricket goes to heaven, maybe he doesn't. Personally, I'd like to believe that Cricket deserves his place in heaven. However, the scriptures don't seem to say that. And the last person saying, yes, I think they do go to heaven, kind of thing. And but at the same time, acknowledging some of the problems with that. And I like that he acknowledged the problems, like this idea about hyenas. If hyenas go to heaven, and vultures. Vultures are carrion eaters. What will they live on in heaven if nothing dies? It's a question, right? But what I really want to sort of say is that the reason why they're so cagey is because people absolutely love their pets, and totally understandable. Like, totally understandable, people love their pets, and they can't, like, Christians with pets can't bear the thought that they're going to heaven and their pets are just going to obliterate and become nothing, which is what it seems to suggest. And that's sort of what 2 out of the 3 that we talked to said that Scripture says. So the caginess is around these preachers and apologists realizing that the Scripture probably says that they don't get to heaven, or they don't go to heaven, but they don't want to tell people, hey, you get to go to heaven, but it's cactus for your pet cat Charlie. Cricket's going to be in a bad place. He's been taken out by God, and people will find exception with that. They'll sort of go, well, that seems unfair, and it kind of does. It kind of does to me too. What did cricket do that Kirsty Gnomes goes to heaven and cricket doesn't? Does that seem fair? Of course it doesn't seem fair. And the weird part is that people with pets will get outraged about it. And this is the weird part for me, and this is really what I got from it. That Christians get outraged that their pets don't go to heaven, while at the same time completely ignoring humans will be tortured forever. They're fine with humans being tortured forever just because they didn't believe in God, but outraged that their pet dog Charlie isn't going to make it to heaven. And that is amazing. That is some good quick work. I approve, and that is amazing. I love it. I love it. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. So that's what baffles me. Like, and it's more like, I know we've got some Christian chat. I'm not trying to pick on you. It's just, how do you, like, how is the view that sort of people are outraged about their pet not going to heaven, but they're fine with someone like me being tortured forever? Like, I'll be tortured forever because I had the temerity not to believe something that didn't have good evidence for it. And at the same time, well, let's look at both positions, because it's a dichotomy, a true dichotomy, to say either your pet will go to heaven or won't go to heaven, right? So you've got problems here where I get tortured, but say your dog goes to heaven, right? There's a problem. What about that? Your best friend for all of your life, that was supportive to your kids, never did anything wrong, just gets annihilated, while Jeffrey Dahmer repents and goes to heaven. Does that seem fair either? And I think that that sort of level of unfairness should probably hit you more in regard to humans. Like, most people are just trying their best. I don't think that it hinges on that. Yeah, I agree, Star Song, but let's not lump everybody into one category. I realize that some Christians were absolutely over they were absolutely gloating about that. And we can, as atheists, and sort of, let the Christians out there know that some people seem to be absolutely rejoicing in that we're going to be tortured forever. And it's weird, because it doesn't scare me that they're saying this, but at the same time, it's like, who is, they call it what's the German term? Schadenfreude. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. It's like Schadenfreude, which is taking delight over the misfortune of others. And I think to a lesser or greater degree, I think that everybody has done that at some point. Sort of the reason why instant karma videos are so popular on YouTube. I mean, they really are, because there is a want to Schadenfreude. Yeah, thank you, Manseed. I hate your name and love it at the same time. I am so confused about your name. It's amazing. Yeah, the instant karma, like someone's being mean to somebody else and they get a comeuppance kind of thing. So sure, but the whole idea that someone like to take delight in someone being tortured forever is really bad. But not all Christians are like that, and I get that. But it doesn't scare me, and it doesn't, I don't worry about it. I think that humans go to the same place that animals do. I don't think we exist at a point past death. I think the longest someone has made it is sort of I think after 10 minutes you're gone, and 2 minutes there's no possibility of being revived without some sort of brain damage. Unfortunately, it's really bad, because as oxygen doesn't reach your brain, the cells die and there's no recovering them. So I think we just stop existing, and that's hard for people to accept, but I think that's what happens. So there is this question of afterlife, and why don't animals get an afterlife? Where do animals go? But all of that's kind of solved by naturalism, that nobody and nothing goes anywhere. Just your constitution parts are, used for other stuff. You as your consciousness no longer exists, and that seems to be all we see. There are near-death experiences, but they're near death. They're not actual death. No one's come back to tell us what's happened after they've died, like really died, like brain death. Nobody's come back after that. So yeah, I see it as much simpler, much more likely that we just pass away. What if? Well, what if I win lotto tomorrow? Should I spend all my money now? What if we go to a place where killing people is the way to get to the endless bounty? What if it's actually heaven is only for atheists? What if? We don't base our decisions on what if. We base our decisions on the best available knowledge to us, not what if. Because if I say, well, what if I win lotto tomorrow, or the $1 billion prize tomorrow, and spend all my money, I'm in a disastrous situation, because it's probably not going to happen. We should base our decisions on what is, not what we want to be. And as far as I can tell, there's nothing that I would see as a heaven. And sort of saying, what if? I think that it detracts from sort of what is, what's now. My life is now. That's important. What if I'm wrong? Well, then I'm wrong. I don't know. What if you're wrong about the Islamic hell? What if you're wrong about the Jewish hell? What if you're wrong about the Hindu punishment and you're reincarnated as a flea? What if you're wrong? Then you're wrong, aren't you? Like this is the thing. It's not sort of well, what if I'm wrong about an afterlife? It's sort of, which afterlife do you choose? And if you choose that one, how do you know you're right? So you can sort of go, what if, but there's billions of what ifs. The reasoning should be based upon the evidence that we have for the conclusion, not all of the possibilities that are out there. Like, so, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And I tried to use my reasoning and the faculties that I have in order to find out what is true and what is not true. But sort of going, well, what if this one thing is true, and following that as if it was true eliminates billions of other possibilities. When you say, well, I don't know what comes after death because I don't, but I don't think there's anything, leaves you open to considering all of the possibilities. And if information comes my way, I can say, hey, things lean towards resurrection, or things lean towards reincarnation, or things lean towards some kind of melding with a panpsychic universe. I can open myself to that. But as soon as I say, well, what if it is resurrection? I will believe that. I'm closing myself off to all information that contradicts it. And that's a problem if you're after the truth. Because I don't think anybody knows what comes after death. They don't know. And the people that claim to know don't seem to be able to show evidence for it. And a bunch of people are claiming different things. So why would I make a designation that sort of I know? So I think that what you're getting at is, what if, God says, hey, you didn't believe and punishes me? Well, what am I supposed to do about that? I can't do anything about that. But in saying, well, to avoid that, I'm going to believe in this God. What if the Islam God is correct? What if the Hindu gods are correct? What if the other ones, or what if it's a possibility that I'd never considered before? These what ifs, it's sort of like, well, there's no reason to commit to one of these things. No, you're fine, Missing Malt. Don't worry about it. I'm not picking on you. I'm just sort of saying, I think that sort of basing things on what if is a road to not only being wrong, because you're assigning confidence without sufficient justification for it. I think it's also a path to not being able to take new information that will get you to the truth, because you're narrowing it down to one possibility. I'm happy to say that I don't know what happens after you die. I believe that nothing happens. That's what I believe, because that is what the evidence says. Because things that are conscious stop being conscious. I can't rule out an afterlife of some sort, but that's no reason to believe it exists. But yeah, no, you're fine, Missing. You're absolutely fine. You're absolutely fine. You're no problem at all. Like it's a good question. It is a good question. Yeah, and that's a good way of saying it, Stacey. That's a really good way of saying it. It's unwilling to change my mind isn't a problem. It's usually the problem. It's a thought stopper. Yeah, and so we promote here free thinking or free thought, which is sort of, we try not to let cultural bias or any kind of bias really interrupt the sort of rationality of our thought. So keeping our minds open is a really good idea. And I certainly could not say that you're wrong, I could not say that you're wrong, because I don't know what comes after death. Never experienced true death, true brain death. Never talked to anybody that has experienced true brain death. Never seen any reports from anybody that's experienced true. No, never. And it's not a problem at all. But I think in regards to pets, some Christians do think the pets will go to heaven, which is, it's weird. And it's weird if they don't. I think the entire concept is just weird, because I know some dogs and cats that are better than some people. That's just the truth. They're better. Some dogs are better humans than some humans. So, why would one human go to heaven who's, absolute garbage, and a very good boy doesn't? Maybe think about that. Why would that be the case? Why would things be that capricious and cruel? I don't know. But I do know some good boys that are better than some bad humans, definitely. So I'll wrap it up there. But there's been a lot of interesting questions, and I found this one particularly interesting. I sort of, well, clinically dead is that's the stopping of your heart and your lungs and stuff. That isn't dead. Like we know that. Your brain hasn't stopped. You're still, it's not dead. Absolutely not. People are resuscitated all the time. That's why it's called resuscitation and not resurrection, because they're not dead. Look, Booba Sweat, I appreciate it. I really do, but I'm not going down the arc line. That is too much. I promise. Okay, so next Friday I'll do something on the arc. How does that sound? I'll make a deal with you, Booba. I'll do something on the arc next time round, because the arc's always fun, but it's too much for this one. But just I wish Christians would have a think about what these entailments are to heaven, afterlife, no pets, no tapeworms, cockroaches, hyenas, vultures, or a world without animals. I think that would be a poorer world, right? Like a afterlife without animals. Like, we take a lot of comfort from the biosphere and the different animals around us. I don't know. It would just seem weird to me. It's strange. And does that include the bacteria in your stomach? So if no single-celled organisms go to heaven, does that mean you don't have the bacteria in your stomach? Does a bodily resurrection include the bacteria in your stomach that you need to survive? It's a question, right? Like, when you get a bodily resurrection, will the bacteria that you need to survive come back with you? I don't know. It's a good question, though. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I think I'll wrap it up here. But, I think it's an interesting question, and something that Christians really get upset about. And I think that talking to them, sort of understanding people's attachment to their pets as family members is really important. So I would really encourage you to be kind to people when talking about their pets. The three most stressful things in your life are a biological family member dying, or a family member dying, and then a pet dying. That's the second most stressful thing. And then it's moving house. That's the third most stressful thing. So don't undervalue the amount of attachment people can have to their pets. So if you're talking to them and talking about the afterlife, don't just dismiss their pets as unimportant, because they really are important. So be kind to others. Be kind to yourself, because you're important too. And I want to wish everybody a lot of love, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, do hit like if you can, if you do have had a good show. And subscribe, share it around, get other people thinking about afterlife, and, as always, rip crickets. Justice for crickets. See you, everyone.